Working out has now become my new addiction. This program overall, it taught me how to be a master of my own self. Don't be so hard on yourself. Be accountable, but for goodness sake, love yourself.
What is going on, Reboot team? It's your man Chris here, and I am here with another brother coming to us from the implementation program. Somebody that selfishly I'm really looking forward to spending some time
Oh man.
getting to know. And I mean it, man. You know, he's a fellow musical brother. Any instrument you put in front of, he will make magic happen. But beyond that, I am so stoked to see his progress and his growth in the program so far, and we're going to get to know his story a little bit. I am here with Tylique. How are you doing today, sir?
Hey, doing great, man. It's a pleasure.
Likewise, right back at you, man. Let's start from the very beginning, man. I'm curious as to, first of all, how you came to discover the program to begin with.
Well, I discovered the program initially through YouTube, and this was some years back.
Yeah.
And I think from that point on, looking at different programs to end out of control sexual behavior, it just didn't seem promising. And it's not to necessarily cast a spell on those programs and say that they're irrelevant. But after watching JK, following him for years, something just told me, yo, this is tried and true. There's something about this system being systematic in, me ending out my sexual control behaviors. And then I think too, I not only wanted a system, but I wanted to remove a lot of the symptoms um, that were going on so that I could address the deep pain that I experienced day in to day out. It seemed like the pain that I experienced day in and day out, this is before the pandemic. Now, that was one aspect. And then even after the aspect of the pandemic, being isolated on the phone, on my laptop, on the tablet, I realized at this point, like my pain levels, it went from maybe 10 to like 100. And at some point, again, I was trying to, will myself in submission. I was trying to follow all these nofap programs in different methods and systems. And it only got me but so far to a plateau. But at the end of the day, I wasn't addressing like the core issues that were going on in the corridor of my heart. And I think from that point on, this year, at the beginning of January 2024, this year, honest to God, this, I didn't know healing existed like this. I didn't believe in myself at that level that I could be healed. I didn't believe in my own self at that level that I can be transformed. I didn't believe, even at the beginning of this year, at this point, that my life could turn around. I thought, okay, maybe I'm going to follow this program. I'm just going to follow a system, this, that, and the third. Okay, blase, blase. And again, in the back of my mind, like I'm looking at all these brothers getting the victory, and I'm like, yeah, this is tried and true. But it really started with my core belief. It started with what I believed about myself. It started with me looking in the mirror and saying, who am I? What is my purpose? And the pornography, the out of control sexual behavior, always having the need to be stimulated in so many aspects were a distraction. And once those things started moving and I started, getting on call and started journaling, like to this day, I still journal. To this day, I have to get up. Meditating for an hour, that was my non-negotiable. You couple that with prayer for an hour, so that's like 2 hours of prayer medicine. So that's honest to God, like a non-negotiable. That was something that has to be set in play. Working out is a non-negotiable. So, studying the modules where it talked about working out and changing the biological chemistry of the body, working out has now become my new addiction. Yeah, it's become like a new addiction to me practically, because I'm feeling like something is changing, even with, ED. I was able to rid that, and
Mm.
I was surprised, man. Like just through working out, doing Kegel exercises, eating right, making sure that I get adequate amount of rest, And even I'm thankful for the failures. I'm thankful for the slip ups. I'm thankful for the relapses. I'm thankful for those because it taught me to study myself. It's really, this program overall, it taught me how to be a master of my own self. And that's something I believe all men of all different ages, races, or whatever, strive, is self mastery.
Hmm.
That's to the core. You know, we live in a day and age of you know, pickup culture, hookup culture, different things of that endeavor. How do I become my best self to get this girl and to do this and do that? And I think what the program told me is that all the answers and things that I wanted, it lies within myself. It lies within self. And one of the modules that I was looking at, matter of fact, it wasn't a module. It was when I was on Facebook, and this was my first live Facebook with JK. It was on a Tuesday night, maybe around 5 or 7. I can't exactly remember, but ultimately, I think he was talking about that. You get down to the core of like who you are, what your beliefs are, what your morals are, um, and and now I'm really at the point. I've walked in this truth, in this catharsis that I can't be like everyone else. And once I came to the point and realization that I cannot be like everyone else, there was a joy, there was a peace, there was a strength that came behind that. And now that I'm on my new job, like I work in a level one trauma hospital, a lot of things go down day and day. I'm talking about restraining patients, people screaming, yelling in your face, cussing. And the peace now that I've experienced through the power of discipline day to day, it's given me the ability to laugh at people. It's given me the ability to love. This journey has been a journey of love. It's been a journey of empowerment. It's really been those things coupled up with suffering. But with suffering, suffering teaches me in that moment to love. Suffering in that moment, it teaches me again who I am, what my purpose is. How do I become a master of myself in this moment? One of my favorite aspects of the program really has been self talk. Self talk has been transforming, I can honestly say, the neurons and the neural pathways in my brain. Self talk has caused me to become alive. Self talk has made something alive in me that I've never experienced before. I hear motivational speakers and people's, this, that, and the third, but it's one thing when it's you yourself looking in the mirror and you're playing an audio and you're repeating back what you're saying. That thing, it doesn't only transcends like into your brain, but it transcends into your cells, it transcends into your membrane, it transcends into your organs, it transcends into your blood and every aspect that you are. There was a study that there was somebody, I think a scientist, who spoke into the matter of water, and he studied the energy of water, and he studied the energy of trees, and he studied the energy of nature, and he spoke to, I think one person spoke negativity to a plant, the other person spoke positivity. And through speaking positivity to those plants and to the matter of water and whatever they came in contact with that was nature, they saw that that nature, it was able to grow, it was able to evolve, it was able to go on its natural course. And I think that going back to my out of control behaviors and this and that and the third, it brought me up out of my natural state of who I am. And self-talk brings me into who I am, whether that is like I am a believer first. So that first and foremost, like that this has helped me rekindle my relationship with the Lord. This has helped me to just really prioritize what comes first, because as a musician, oftentimes I heard, this was by the late great Cornell Gaskins. He said that oftentimes we perfect our instrument and we spend ample time in perfecting our instrument, but we neglect the instrument and who we are.
Hmm.
And now that I'm at this point, music compared to my self-care, that comes last. That comes last on a lot of aspects. Not that I'm throwing music to the gutter, because in part, that's still my livelihood, but music, whether it's being in the studio, like I sat up under people who have sat in the studio for days on end and this and that and the third. And it's in the entertainment world, it's this culture of all gas, no brakes. And I've come to realize that there's a danger in that and that it's not practical. And I think going back to the program, it's taught me to somewhat bring a balance. The balance, it starts with living from the inside out, not the outside in. The balance starts from the bottom to the top. And a lot of times people work on themselves from the top to the bottom, from the outside in. And I think collectively now I'm just really at this point to where, I'm getting my finances and stuff together. There were a lot of shortcomings, there were a lot of setbacks. And honestly, I'm glad that happened. And it might sound crazy, like, yo, you're mad weird. Like, why are you glad about all of these setbacks and setups and shortcomings and this, that, and the third, and being on my hands and knees scrubbing floorboards for $11 an hour, and that I'm telling you that journey, it put a lot of humility in me. And another thing too, like this has helped me to hone in humility. And I never really understood the power of humility, although I was told to be humble. And when you're brought up in the church, you're taught to do things, not necessarily given an explanation why you're taught to do something. We were taught to always listen and do and do and do, but never ask or question. So I think with the aspect of humility, man, it's molded my heart to become flexible in doing the things that people don't want to do to become what they want to become.
Hmm.
And there's this saying, it's in the Bible, let not your left hand know what your right hand's doing or something like that. So even on the job, I would say that my challenge is it's filthy talk with guys, among guys. Like I have to be very, very careful about the atmospheres that I walk in, and even, trying to create an atmosphere wherever I go that's peaceful, that's conducive. So I love it. Like I still got my rubber band on. Yeah, like there's just certain aspects of the beginning part of the implementation program that's, I think, is going to be forever a part of me. It's going to be forever part of my walk, forever a part of my journey. Whether it is journaling, whether it is doing my feelings exercise, getting up, drinking, a glass of water. I like to infuse mine with lemon because, your body retains more moisture. But working out, like I just finished doing T25, and I do sometimes multiple workouts. And again, like whenever I feel like I just want to be stimulated out of nowhere, working out, it just balances me out. It balances and it empowers me to be healthy. It empowers me not to act out of toxic and crazy behavior. But I would say ultimately, I said earlier that I experienced a catharsis or like an immense change. That change was before this program. I had a lot of unbelief based off of the failures that I experienced, failures with finances, failures with trying to reboot, failures with just a lot of things, failures just with trying to overcome childhood trauma, in just entertaining people, places, and things who branded a false identity over me. And this program, literally, it's been like removing all of the layers of just falseness that society, my family, people who hated on me, this and that, and it's really been this journey of just removing and stripping these layers, man. And I'm gonna be honest, this has done. I'm an advocate for therapy. I'm an advocate for therapy. I'm not gonna lie to you, but being in therapy for the past 10 years of my life um, has not necessarily brought solutions, but it has somewhat been able to give me vocabulary to speak and vocalize the things in my heart that I may have not been able to do in times past. Now coming to the forefront of no moaning, complaining, and whining, this again, it's been a journey. Like if I'm sitting in bed, like the first 10 seconds are the most important seconds of our day, period. That's period, man. Getting up out of bed, bro, that's a privilege. Being able to turn on a workout program and to follow it down to the T, that's like a privilege now. Walking in my self care, I'm really realizing how much of a privilege that is. And the fruit of that is the compliments I get on my job. Um, they're trying to move me up into doing, I think, more complex things because it's more so you have the mindset and energy to get the job done. We want the job to get done. You have what it takes, you have the mind, and I'm thankful I'm making more money. And I guess this is the season I'm in, but it took a lot of humble beginnings, man. So this year with this implementation program from January, like it's been beginnings,
Mm.
humble beginnings. There are still layers that are being peeled back. There are still traumatic things that are being peeled back, but I'm thankful for like the self control I have as a man in just more so walking in who I am and walking in, my purpose and in my calling and like even down to interacting with women, it's been very much so organic.
Yeah. Well,
The
if I
Yeah,
may,
yeah.
dang, I don't know where to start.
You can pick my hair real fast.
First of all, thank you for sharing your journey. I really, really appreciate
Yeah.
it. It's awesome. And so much to dive into. And I kind of want to break down that journey
Mm.
a little bit, especially if someone, is listening or watching that might kind of be on the fence and maybe kind of, struggling in silence in the way that you and I know about very, very well. I kind of want to
Mm-hmm.
speak to a heart like that, kind of having learned what you've learned and have experienced what you have so far. I'm curious to know about
Mm.
where you were to where you're at and all the success that's come as sort of icing on the cake, you know,
Mm.
beyond your reboot progress. I'm curious, just right from let's start simple. Like, what have been some of the tools that have helped you out along the way?
I would say number one, it was feelings exercise.
Right.
This morning, I feel like boo boo. The first time I've ever felt like boo boo was such and such. Each time, months and weeks that pass and progress, I feel like boo boo. There is somewhat now, as I'm studying, there's a correlation with all the times I felt a certain way and my feelings influencing me maybe to do something that was toxic in order for me to get a release.
Yeah.
And that, so the feelings exercise, I think it's called the non-negotiable, like I said. So writing out a list of what is non-negotiable, that has helped me immensely. So for an example, bringing my tablets, laptops in the bed, cell phones, in the bathroom or any area where like I feel like I'm isolated in, well, where I am isolated and I feel like I could potentially use. So now I think those things have become automatic. Self-talk has been another thing that again it's brought me, I think, from it can bring me from 0 to 10 in one day.
Yeah.
Self-talk is I would have to say like self-talk is the Mac Daddy, because again I'm changing automatically by working out. I'm changing the biochemistry of my body, but that self-talk, like I'm changing, it seems like I'm changing the chemistry of my brain.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, you are what you eat, and that
Mm-hmm.
includes our self-talk. So,
Absolutely.
so good that you spoke to that. And I'm curious as to, that community, of guys from all around the world,
Mm-hmm.
Facebook group that have been in your shoes in terms of, needing to reach out for help with this kind of compulsive behavior, but working on following the system to get themselves out of that hole so they can find themselves, just like you, finding the icing on the cake to, their own life. So I'm curious
Yeah.
as to what your overall experience has been in the Facebook groups and on the coaching calls.
The Facebook groups have been dope, it because there are more seasoned rebooters that if you have questions, if you have curiosity, if there's something going on without feeling judgmental, that's the biggest thing. They're not judgmental, they're not harsh, they're not, throwing stones at any point. They're able to just chime in where you are and they can tell you basically point A to point Z because that's where they were.
Hmm.
So that's been a beautiful thing too, with the Facebook. Just if I'm not on the Facebook group every day, like there's just like this internal knowing, like I'm connected to something. I'm connected to safety. I'm connected, like I felt safe.
Yeah,
That's the
no,
best way I could describe being connected to the Facebook group. There was a sense of safety I felt, and whenever pride wanted to jump up in me because I may have been clean for like a month, they reminded me, yo, it's not about being clean just for a month. It's about counting your wins. It's a lifestyle. I'm living a lifestyle of counting my wins.
yep,
Well, on my job it's an extremely negative atmosphere. And I think the first 2.5 weeks, I found myself stressed out. Stress, as we all know it, that is a catalyst to relapse, like no one's business.
yeah,
So I work a 3 to 11 shift, 3 p.m. to 11 p.m. And I found myself, even though work is over, I'm on the bus and I'm home and I'm away from all the chaos. One thing I found useful was to work out before I go to bed. That may not be like everyone's cup of tea. I would work out before I went to bed, and all the pent up stress in my body and energy, it was being utilized in order for me to build myself.
yeah, that's so good. And I love how you spoke to like this might not work for everybody, but because a
Yeah.
big part of what we do is that yeah, we're all together in a community. It's an individual journey that's done within community. The whole point of the
Yes.
group is to keep everyone accountable to what they say they're going to do. We're going to say, all right,
Mhm.
you want to do this? Cool. We're going to hold you to that.
Yeah.
I'm glad that you found that routine and that sense of outlet that works for you. That's awesome, man.
Hmm.
You're not only, using that energy that we might have otherwise expended into doing something that's proven to be unhealthy for us. Not only are you doing that, using that energy in a new way, but you're contributing to your overall health and wellness. And that's what the reboot program
Absolutely.
is about. So,
Yeah.
in that spirit, I want to ask you kind of like again reaching that heart to somebody that might not have experienced that for themselves yet, knowing what you know now, and sincerely I'm so glad that you've gotten all of these realizations and this sense of
Mhm.
safety like you said from the program itself, and it's only the beginning. But with what you know now that perhaps you didn't know back then, if you were to meet somebody who you know is, like I alluded to earlier, struggling in silence, just dealing with an out of control behavior, not really sure what to do, don't really think they have anyone to reach out to, someone who's going through it, right? Is there anything in particular that you would want to share with that person or tell that person?
Yeah, man. Well, I'm gonna share what the great reboot hero Chris taught me at the beginning of my reboot. I'm talking about this magic phrase. It shifted my whole paradigm with this program. Take your time. Take your time.
And
Period.
why should people take their time, Tylique? Tell them.
Well, the reason why people should take their time is because when you rush into something, there is vital information that you will miss, and you will end up relapsing, falling, falling. Maybe you'll be able to will yourself for your first 90 days, but you'll end up relapsing, which may be a good thing because it will teach you, man, in that, wow, I relapsed or I slipped up because, I missed this information. I missed this. I missed this. Now, see, as I would speak to myself or a person who may have been broken and they're struggling with their out of control sexual behavior, I the importance of why we need to take our time was, for an example, January, I felt myself burned out. February, I felt myself burnt out. March, I felt myself burnt out. It was trying to do everything at one time.
Yep.
So I tried to develop what we call reboot capita, like in certain areas. So my first month, I didn't meditate for like an hour or 2 hours. I maybe only had the capacity to meditate for 30 minutes. And then I would do my feelings exercise. And then I would go on my wind wall. And then maybe I would work out. I wouldn't work out for maybe 30 minutes, but I would do some type of mobility movement where blood is flowing and I'm able to get out in the sun and walk and feel energized. And then the next month after that, that evolves. 1 30 minutes evolves into 1 hour. And then I'm writing my feeling exercise. And then alongside of my feelings exercise, I'm doing my wind wall. Then alongside, the wind wall, maybe doing my non-negotiables. And then maybe the month after that, that's an hour, 1 hour and 30 minutes of meditation and prayer time. And then after that's over, we go to the feelings exercise. Then we go to the wind wall. Then we go to all these things. Now I'm adding self-talk to that. Now, now with that self-talk, I'm in a whole different realm.
Mm.
I'm not I'm not losing my energy, but I'm finding that I cannot leave the house. It is non-negotiable for me to leave the house without these core things being done. But that came and I had to build myself into that over 90 days. Some people want to learn advanced chords and you just don't wake up out of bed playing Bach overnight or Rachmaninoff or learning advanced intricate hand exercises. There's a level you start from. You don't speak. You just don't evolve out of Pampers and you start speaking. In learning to write sentences, you start with see, spot, run. We learn to crawl before we walk.
Yep.
And another thing, oh my God, another thing that now I'm more so implementing that I wish I did at the beginning of the program was dialogue. Talking to that addict self. Talking to some people's addict self is 25 years old, 30 years old, maybe even 40 years old. But we talking to the addict self whenever the addict self wants to rise up, having dialogue and talking to that addict, it has been tremendously effective in a lot of aspects. I'm saying that I am in the front seat. I am in the driver's side, not the passenger seat, but I'm in the driver's seat. I am putting the gear on drive. I am driving this car wherever I want to drive it, and I will not allow this person to drive me in any type of way, shape, form, or fashion. And each time I would dialogue in my journal, I found myself sometimes stronger, sometimes weaker. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Mm.
But over time, I think with dialoguing, it's helped me to be more self-aware. Self-awareness is another aspect. One of my favorite books, basically has been Out of the Shadow by Patrick Carnes, I think. Confessions of a Porn Addict, The Seven Secrets to Overcoming, the Out of Control by JK. I think that's a free book too.
Mm-hmm.
Even before I started the program, I read that book, The Seven Secrets. And one of the things I highlighted in that book that JK said was so profound is what you believe about yourself basically is the catalyst of your behavior. Your behavior is a byproduct of what you believe about yourself. So if I believe I'm a piece of boo boo, then I'm going to do boo boo things. I'm going to be around people who say nothing but boo boo out of their mouth, things that are not fruitful, things that are not conducive of a fruitful atmosphere, things that are not conducive of a peaceful atmosphere. That's at work a lot of times, and I'm not again saying I'm up here, you're down here, but people, places, and things, man. So how I feel about myself is the catalyst of the things that I do. So I'm learning again that has brought me to again a journey of empowerment, a journey of love, speaking to people I may not always get spoken back to. Going out my way to just love on people in a lot of aspects. And I'm just finding out too that I believe in the power of reciprocity, which means what you put in the earth, it's gonna come back. That seed that you put in the ground, it's gonna reap. Whether that's 30, 40, 60, 100 fold. Um, Basically you get what comes to you. That's either good and that's either bad. And I'm totally aware of that. So this reboot also has put me in the mind of how to treat people.
That's beautiful, man, and I'm so glad that you again like took that away from your experience in the program thus far. And to anybody who is hearing this, I hope you're taking notes when Tylique is speaking because namely, take your time, give yourself the chance to get to know yourself because like
Mm,
Tylique alluded to, this is I mean my running joke is that, this is self-awareness 101,
yeah,
and yeah, show up to class, man. And
absolutely.
you are a welcome member of this community, Talik. I have
Oh, thank you.
enjoyed, like watching you grow and like
Mm,
seeing you just that light, just boom, just light up
wow.
the room, man. So thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
your enlightening insight.
Yes,
Any
sir.
final words before we bounce?
Man, love yourself. Love yourself. Love yourself because everything in you is diametrically opposed to telling yourself deep down to love yourself. Desire the highest good for yourself. Love yourself so that you're able to be the best and to love others. Love yourself. Don't be so hard on yourself. Be accountable, but for goodness sake, love yourself. And
Dude.
that's all.
Oh, dude, hold yourself accountable, but love yourself. So good.
Yes. Not a
Like,
narcissistic, self imposed love, but a love that desires the highest good for you and for that to be contagious to love others. And I'll drop the mic on that.
nah, Mike has been dropped, man. Thank you so much, Talik. All the best.
Yes, sir.